The M240 roars to life, unleashing a barrage of bullets straight into the nuclear weapons. Storage bunker. 7.62 mm rounds tear through the thin metal casings of B-83 thermonuclear bombs. But the gunner atop the armored Humvee doesn't flinch. He keeps up the suppressive fire, right? Over the heads of the security response team. Inside the bunker, the armed terrorists brace themselves before firing back. Bullets rip through the confined space as shredded nuclear. Warheads explode into jagged fragments, sending lethal shrapnel flying in every direction. Highly radioactive cores, surrounded by explosives, are ripped apart and exposed to the open air. This is the reality of what would happen if terrorists stole an American nuclear weapon. Midnight, attack begins. A terrorist cell has carefully planned their attack for years, watching daily security operations at 2 different American nuclear weapons storage depots. Using fake social media accounts, the terrorists have catfished multiple U.S. Air Force Security Forces patrolmen, striking up long-distance relationships to extract critical intel. Over time, they've pieced together everything: when shifts begin and end, and how long it takes to check out and return weapons. They even have the shortcuts the patrols take, breaking protocol to wrap up their shifts faster. They know exactly when, during each 12-hour shift, day or night, daily exercises take place, covering everything from recovery operations to fence line intrusions. And they know how unrealistic the training usually is, and how little most troops actually take it seriously. And they know all this from a series of online relationships, all using AI generated images and videos. It's 2 a.m. on a windy day. They have chosen the timing of their attack carefully. High winds mean the perimeter alarm operator will be accessing and silencing alarms rather than dealing with the endless alerts triggered by the wind shaking the triple-layer perimeter fence. Debris will also set off the radar motion sensors in the no-man's land between the fences, flooding the system with false positives and adding to the chaos. The assault team carefully watched the interior. Patrols who had been mobile ever since the wind picked up. This was standard procedure anytime the perimeter alarms were accessed. It was meant to keep the patrols alert and on the watch for fence-line intrusions. In reality, the terrorists know from their intelligence gathering that most patrols practice a one-up, one-down rule, even while mobile. One patrolman drives while the other sleeps, switching off every hour or two. This means half as many eyes to worry about. Even then, most patrols will focus on the interior roads near the weapons bunkers, leaving the perimeter dangerously thin. Only 4 or 5 patrols cover the outer fence, and 3 of those are also responsible for monitoring interior bunkers, splitting their attention even further. To ensure the alarms were truly accessed, 2 members of the terrorist assault team had spent the last 4 hours deliberately triggering them. They shoved toilet paper rolls, plastic bags, and bits of debris through the exterior fence. The wind would pick the debris up and blow it across the no-man's land, setting off the radar sensors, if they were active. After waiting a few minutes and seeing no patrol arrive to inspect the fence, as protocol demanded, the terrorists knew they had succeeded. They had spent hours repeating the same trick, and now they were certain the alarms had been accessed and ignored. The path was clear. It was time to strike. They have deliberately chosen a night shift, not just for the cover of darkness, but because that's when people were most lax, the least attentive. It was a simple detail, gathered through basic human intelligence gathering. Behind a small hill a few hundred meters away, a small swarm of quadcopters take to the sky. There was no possible way that the nuclear facility could detect them. They'd already flown quadcopters over the facility numerous times over the last 6 months and had gone unnoticed every time. This time, though, the quadcopters carried a deadly payload, having been converted to weapons. The assault team rushed to the fence line, quickly cutting through the exterior fence. Seconds later, they reached the middle perimeter fence. But this one is different. A sensor woven directly into. The metal is designed to detect any attempt to cut through, and unlike the motion alarms, it's unlikely to have been accessed. So instead of risking detection, they take the simplest approach. They climb over. At the top of the fence, 3 vertical taut wires are the next obstacle. They are equipped with sensors designed to detect anyone climbing over. However, high winds frequently trigger these alarms. Betting that the operator had accessed them along with the others, the terrorists take their chances and keep going. The radar motion sensor meant to track intrusions into no man's land were indeed accessed, just as the terrorists had planned. But they have misjudged one thing. The vertical taut wire sensor is still active. As they climb over, it triggers an alarm. But alarms have been going off all night, tripped by wind and debris. A mile, 1.6 kilometers, away, inside Central Security Control, the perimeter alarm operator barely looks up. It's only by chance that the alarm operator bothers to turn around and pull up the camera for the affected sector. His jaw hits the floor when he spots 2 of the terrorists climbing over the fence. 00:00:04. The alarm is raised. A code blue is issued immediately. The perimeter alarm operator's voice shakes as he calls out over the radio. For a brief moment, the central security controller beside him just stares at the camera feed.
Split into 2 groups, responding security personnel come under precise, deadly rifle fire. One element of the attackers sets up a suppression line, pinning down security forces at a distance, while the second group rush through the darkness toward the nearest bunker. Security patrols arrive in chaotic waves, uncoordinated and unprepared, and are picked off one by one. Then Whiskey 9's armored Humvee roars onto the scene, its turret-mounted M240 spitting lead into the night. For the first time, the assault has stalled. But that problem is solved from above as a drone smashes into the Humvee's thin top armor, killing or wounding everyone inside. That runaway multi-ton Humvee veers wildly at over 40 miles per hour, smashing into the ditch that runs along the side of the road and flipping. The machine gunner in the turret has no chance to duck inside and is instantly crushed. 8 minutes, the second assault. On the far side of the facility, a second terrorist assault team has already breached the perimeter. They've cut through the fences near the plants where the nuclear weapons were maintained after being removed from their bunkers. They know exactly where to strike. A lone security forces patrol is parked outside the plants, providing overwatch, a clear sign that nuclear weapons are inside. Now the facility is under siege from 2 directions. The initial response force had been decimated. The security teams are outgunned, outmaneuvered, and running out of time. A second code blue is raised. The alert fire team has already been dispatched to the disaster on the other side of the facility. The controller had less than 6 patrols left, all of them 2-man patrols, along with Security 1, the flight chief himself, and Security 2, a security supervisor. It isn't enough to form a 15-man response team. Security 1 resolves the dilemma for him. The patrols on the other side of the facility are to establish a blocking force. Security 2 acknowledges the order despite knowing it goes against established protocol, but protocol isn't going to save them now. Security forces are already at a disadvantage, poor training, out-of-shape personnel, and an enemy that is faster, deadlier, and better prepared. The last thing they need is to blindly follow procedures that, like most things in security forces, look good on paper but fall apart in a real fight.